Long ago, in the land of Egypt, the Israelites lived as slaves under the harsh rule of Pharaoh. But God had a plan to set them free. He sent Moses and Aaron to Pharaoh with a simple message: "Let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he refused. So God sent 10 powerful plagues upon Egypt to show his might and persuade Pharaoh to release his people. The first plague turned the lifeblood of Egypt, the Nile River, into blood. As Moses stretched out his staff over the waters, they turned red, fish died, and the river reeked. The Egyptians were left with no clean water to drink. Yet Pharaoh's heart remained hard, and he would not let the Israelites go. Then came the second plague: frogs. Frogs leaped out of the waters, filling homes, beds, ovens, and kneading bowls. Everywhere the Egyptians turned, there were frogs. Pharaoh begged Moses to ask God to remove the frogs, but when the plague ended, Pharaoh changed his mind and refused to free the Israelites. Next, God sent the third plague: gnats. Aaron struck the dust of the ground, and it turned into gnats that swarmed people and animals alike. The magicians of Egypt could not replicate this miracle and admitted, "This is the finger of God." But still, Pharaoh refused to listen. Then came the fourth plague: flies. Swarms of flies filled the air, invading the homes of the Egyptians and covering the land. But in the land of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, not a single fly buzzed. Pharaoh promised to let the Israelites go if the flies were removed, but once the plague ended, he hardened his heart again. The fifth plague struck the livestock of Egypt. Horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, and goats became sick and died. Yet the Israelites' animals were untouched. Even this disaster did not move Pharaoh to let God's people go. The sixth plague was painful boils. Moses and Aaron threw soot from a furnace into the air, and it caused sores to break out on the skin of people and animals alike. Even Pharaoh's magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils. But Pharaoh still refused to listen. Then came the seventh plague: hail. God sent a mighty storm of hail mixed with fire, striking down plants, trees, and people caught in the open. Only the land of Goshen was spared. Pharaoh admitted he had sinned and asked Moses to pray for the storm to stop. But as soon as the hail ended, Pharaoh's heart grew hard again. The eighth plague was a swarm of locusts. They covered the land, devouring every plant and fruit left after the hail. The land of Egypt was barren. Pharaoh again pleaded for relief, but when the locusts were gone, he refused to free the Israelites. Then came the ninth plague: darkness. For 3 days, Egypt was covered in a thick, oppressive darkness. No one could see or move, but the Israelites had light in their homes. Even then, Pharaoh would not let the Israelites go. Finally, God sent the 10th and most devastating plague: the death of the firstborn. Every firstborn son in Egypt, from Pharaoh's palace to the poorest home, died that night. But the Israelites were spared because they obeyed God's command to mark their doorposts with the blood of a lamb. The angel of death passed over their homes, and they were safe. This final plague broke Pharaoh's stubbornness. In the middle of the night, he summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Go, leave my people. Take your flocks and herds and go worship the Lord." The Israelites left Egypt that very night, free at last after generations of slavery. God had shown his power and his faithfulness to his people, proving that he is the one true God. And so the dramatic events of the 10 plagues remind us of God's might, his justice, and his love for his people.